Well, I'm taking a look at a case knife, which is interesting. This one is obviously one of their more modernized ones. This is the Marilla. They also have the Kinza that started as a Tonto, but they've also moved it over to a drop point. This thing is basically a drop point. Because of the swedge up front, maybe kind of looks a little bit like a clip point, but man, it doesn't really have any hollowed out section there. So yeah, I'm calling this a drop point for sure. So yes, this one is also made in the States, made basically on the same assembly lines as all their slip joints and the couple of lockbacks and weird reverse liner lock sort of things that they end up doing here. This one, interesting to me because it has an aluminum handle. Like it's an aluminum frame lock. Not, I just haven't really come into a whole lot of those, so it's kind of interesting. It does have a hardened steel insert there with a lock bar over travel stop on it. This pocket clip I will definitely go into a bit here, but yes, so really nice smooth action going on here. The finish on the blade here is interesting. It looks like they started to do something like a tumbled finish of some sort, and then, well, Case really likes to polish the crap out of their knives, so it looks like they did the same thing here after that fact. Probably does help with the action on it, but hey, there you go with that. Also about this blade, it's really, really thick. It's about 4mm blade stock thickness on the back here. Make sure that I'm not absolutely going crazy. Well, 3.8, okay. So thick, like a lot of Tucson's kind of thick. But this one, as you can see, it's a saber grind there, so not a full flat grind, and really thick behind the edge. As far as I've experienced with a lot of my cutting on it, too thick behind the edge. And this is after I've already tried to reprofile the edge here down to 15 degrees. Does look like there's a little bit of rolls there. That's kind of annoying, but I'll have to fix that up later. This is an S35VN. There we go. We can see here. And yeah, I can definitely say that the heat treat, or at least the hardness of the heat treat, they did a great job on. This is, even though this is S35VN, which is supposed to be fairly easy to sharpen, I suppose, compared to S30V, this thing still, yeah, it took me quite a while to be able to do that reprofiling on it. But yeah, like I said, the cutting geometry on this was it took a lot more force than I really cared for when I was cutting through cardboard. I mean, this thing was also slicing through phone book paper. It might not now that I've messed up the edge a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I can still slice on through that quite nicely. But yeah, it gets wedged real easy. Trying to cut through something that, is tall, like cardboard would be in this particular case or something like that. Really, really, really aggressive point on this thing, though. You can probably penetrate something quite severely with this guy. It does thin out just a little bit due to that swedge, but still very, very robust behind the tip. But because of basically that grind, I was really thinking about picking up the other one, the Kinza, in the drop point version, since they've just recently come out with those. But the blade geometry on it is the same as this, and I really don't need to spend another $130 on a knife that I'm probably not going to be super happy with the cutting performance on. The ergonomics on it are pretty darn good, though. Even with my larger hands, we have a nice amount of jimping way up top there, so you can really get up there for adding a lot of power to the front third to half or so of the blade there. We have a nice sharpening choil that's done quite right because the plunge grind is way down there. So we have a few more sharpenings before any of that sort of smiling ridiculousness ends up happening to it. Yeah, I mean, the aluminum ends up doing a great job. I really haven't had any kind of structural complaints so far. I haven't done anything super wild with it, but feels really nice. The barrel spaces on the back here leave a little bit to be desired. They yeah, this one in the back in particular just looks like they didn't quite finishing it. But yeah. All right, so I will talk about the pocket clip here. So we got a really short pocket clip, and yeah, that's something that a lot of people will appreciate with some newer knives. But this does not have a channel in which the pocket clip sits, and we got button head screws on here, and that's why this pocket clip is incredibly tall, much taller than most other deep carry clips, and probably things that they could have easily dealt with, but I'm sure that this probably had a little bit more to do with keeping them affordable rather than being a little bit nicer there. You can swap it over to the left side, which can be kind of nice. However, this pocket clip at this point will ride on this G10, and as you can hear, this G10 has so much peel ply texture on it, you could probably sharpen an axe with it, just like a file. This is definitely that Emerson old school cold steel kind of, whoa, way too much grippiness there. And it's not all that bad because, it's only on the show side there. And if you carry it in, the standard right-handed fashion, then that's really not going to be a problem there for you. And it does add a little bit of texture there. It sits very much proud of the aluminum scale, and that works out great. But you swap that clip over to that side, and then that clip interfaces directly on that G10. So kiss your pockets goodbye if you're left-handed and you're trying to use this thing. In that particular way, if you do like this kind of thing, I would probably suggest you get the Kinzwa over this one, as that one doesn't have the G10 insert there. But yeah, just figured I would mention that because it's like having a metal file on your pocket. It's pretty extreme there. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, the fit and finish on it's great. I ended up nicking that both sides just a little bit when I was doing some sharpening on it, or at least the profiling beforehand, just because I didn't end up angling it up quite enough. So yeah, that's on me, but I don't really care. It ends up happening with aluminum knives anyway. Basically, if you carry this around in the same pocket as some keys, that sort of stuff will end up happening in a couple of months anyway. What are you going to do? So yeah, I talked about the action on this thing. It's quite nice. This thing is using steel bearings and brass cages on there. Probably interesting or important to note because steel bearings, they do have about the same action as ceramic bearings do, but almost all of them, this one mostly included here, the bearings they end up using on them aren't the most stainless of steels. So if you do like to run your bearings dry, you may want to think about some sort of corrosion protection in general for this guy in particular. Like I said, the action's fine on it, but yes, there are stainless ball bearing steels like 154 CM or technically 440C as well, because that's what 154 was based on, but they're fairly expensive. So yeah, most of them are using some kind of tool steel, maybe high-speed tool steel or something like that for the bearings in there, just to make sure that they have that compression rigidity for, you know, what most bearings are ending up used for. But yes, that does mean that they can get just a little tiny bit rusty on you if you're not careful. But yeah, let's go ahead and do some measurements on here. I don't have them written down ahead of time. So we got 3.8 millimeter blade stock thickness on this guy. Let's go for basically the handle thickness. Why not? We'll do that next. 0.5, and basically 0.52 or 13.2 millimeters. The blade length on this thing, happily, is quite decent. We got 3.33, 3.34, somewhere right around there. Or 84.7 millimeters. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Because it's aluminum scales, this thing is fairly light. It doesn't quite meet that ounce and inch mark, but I think that really does have to do with the fact that this blade stock is just really, really thick for it. If they did kind of minimize this down 3.4, maybe even 3 millimeters, then yeah, this thing would be super ultra light and probably a little bit slicier. I don't know, maybe they have plans for something a little bit less overbuilt as far as the edge geometry goes on some future ones. So hopefully that will be the case, and I'll be interested in some more. But yeah, how about if we go ahead and do some blade comparisons here? Benchmade 940, pretty darn close. I mean, obviously the handle's a little bit different. Trying to line those up at the back. Yeah, you can see it has a little bit less. But if your 940 isn't 19 years old and had many, 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 many sharpenings under its belt, the blade would basically be the same length. Let's see, let's go with the Spyderco PM2. Yeah, it's pretty similar. See, Ontario Rat number 1, a little bit larger. Why not? K-Bar Dozier Folding Hunter. That's a good, super cheap option. And yeah, the Endura is definitely larger. So, for this being one of their 2 first outings for kind of doing a modernized knife, they got a lot of stuff right. But they didn't get a lot of stuff right as far as some of the other things going on there. Like I said, ergonomics on this thing are great. They're quite comfortable, and because my hand ends up behind that pocket clip's gigantic bow there, ends up being fairly comfortable in my hand, whether I'm doing that saber grip or a hammer grip. I'm avoiding that part there, so that's good. We got that lanyard hole there. I would kind of probably appreciate having another one of these barrel spacers back there, just to chew up paracord or whatever other lanyard material you might want to use going on there. The G10, I guess the grip on it is fine with it being super, super coarse like that. I just wish that there was a landing point for the pocket clip if it was, if you're carrying it left-handed there. And obviously, the blade stock thickness on it's not necessarily all that much of a bad thing at 3.8. I take a look at a ton of Tucson's that also have that same kind of thing, but this one has a grind that you would mostly expect from a 3.8 millimeter saber ground blade. So yeah, does a lot of stuff good, but there's definitely rooms for improvement. I would like to see them use ceramic bearings just for the corrosion resistance there. They really can't be much more expensive. Unless they had something like they couldn't source ceramic bearings in the U.S. and they sourced them, and they did find somebody with steel bearings in there, then that would be all right. let's see, I just moved the box, but the box does say it's made in the USA from US and international materials. So I don't necessarily know if that's a great excuse for that. Obviously, the blade steel is American, S35VN, Crucible. Hey, nobody else is making that. So that's going to be it. G10's easy enough, I suppose, for American companies to manufacture and get a hold of. Kind of my guess is the aluminum scales and possibly this pocket clip might have been sourced from international areas. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting design. If you do like your knives built in geometry a little bit more like a Medford or something like that, then this thing would be great for you. But as far as just as far as the cutting geometry for an EDC knife, this thing is just a little obtuse, unfortunately. I have the blue one here. They also make it in red. Those are the only two colors that they do for this and the Kienzwa. But just figured I'd throw that out there. But yeah, I mean, we can take a look on the inside if we want. If you're not interested in that, you can go ahead and hop off at the moment. Yep, that pocket clip is definitely something else that really does need to be dealt with. It is using T8 screws, so that's good to see. But yes, I would appreciate them to be a flathead screw rather than a button top. And also, if they could inset that, just a little slot for the pocket clip to sit in. That way they could probably thin out the back of that instead of having it be very, very, very large. I would appreciate that myself. Alrighty. But yeah, very easy to get into. Those barrels do sit inset on the inside of that, as you can see here. And there's the pocket clip screws. You can see it's threaded all the way through, but they don't go super, super deep in there. It feels super nice and sturdy, so I don't really foresee any plans with the pocket clip kind of coming up anytime soon, but hey, I could be wrong on that. Let's see. So yeah, as I run into last time, there's either a burr or just a little kind of funkiness going on with the pivot on there, so I'm not going to yank it out, but yeah, you can see we got bearing races, not channeled, but just a standard polished bearing race going on both sides inside there. And here we are with the bearings. These are steel bearings and steel cages, which, yeah, I haven't really seen all that much. I did bring up that surface rust kind of thing because I did experience just a little tiny bit left on the blade from some of the bearings there when I popped this guy open the first time. It was just basically surface rust sort of stuff that was easy enough to wipe off, so I didn't really have any trouble or worrying that it was going to have some problems later on down the line in its life. But yep, something to keep in mind. But yeah, they did get it right with the T8 screw construction all the way around. This guy, the pivot on it, is actually a little weird. You can do it with a T8. But at least for me and my sets, T9 is actually a little bit better fit for it. Just strange. But as you saw, T8 actually works out all right. I think I got the pivot just maybe a little bit too tight on there, but yeah, still works out super great. Yeah, super nice action on it and all that sort of good stuff. But yeah, okay, so I'll stop rambling on. Just go ahead and throw out a couple of those things. I do wish that the pocket clip was done a little bit better with regards to inset and flat or flush screws there. I do wish the geometry was just a little bit better on this guy, and I do wish that it was probably using some sort of ceramics on the inside for the bearings, just to help some corrosion stuff. But they got a whole bunch of stuff right on it, so it's interesting to see a company that's been making really old school knives for as long as Case has, which is well over 100 years at this point. Kind of jump into something a little bit more modern, and hopefully they end up refining these kind of designs and getting things down to something that'll probably be just a little bit better for EDC overall. All right, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.